There was a time when quirkiness and bizarreness were at the forefront of comedy movies, and by the forefront, I mean there were three movies people remember fondly: Nacho Libre, Hot Rod, and the king of them all, Napoleon Dynamite. Now, I love these three movies. They are the perfect balance of weird and funny, but never once did I think to myself that any of these movies needed to be expanded upon into a Fox adult animated series, especially 8 years after the original release. But apparently Fox was thinking the exact opposite when they decided to make Napoleon Dynamite the animated series. Now, even though I don't agree with this decision, it must have been the right one. Taking a cult classic comedy and bringing it to a more accessible location and a more digestible format for new and old fans alike, it's a recipe for a sweet, succulent pot roast called success. It only got 6 episodes. 6 bad episodes. And to put that into perspective, Alan Gregory, one of the worst shows I've ever seen, aired for 7 episodes. When Alan Gregory lasts longer than your TV show, then you've probably made a tremendous mistake. So how bad is Napoleon Dynamite? Well, I can say this wholeheartedly, it's not as bad as Alan Gregory. It's just horribly, horribly boring. Now, the TV show takes place after the events of the movie, and apparently after Napoleon Dynamite the movie, all of the characters became dumbed-down, glorified Simpsons characters, like overnight. These characters are less interesting, less charming, and less fun to listen to than the ones in the movie. They are seriously watered-down versions of themselves. And on top of that, they're not funny in the slightest. I laughed a grand total of 3 times through this whole show, which is an average of half a laugh per episode. If you're making a comedy and you get half a laugh per episode, you're doing a bad job. And I don't think it's the creators' fault in this sense. I think it's Fox's fault. I think it's their fault for thinking that this was a good idea even to begin with. Because Napoleon Dynamite in live action looks a lot different and is presented a lot different than Napoleon Dynamite when he's animated. Now, this is a point I've never made before because it was never relevant, but this is really one of those shows that has no reason whatsoever to be animated. They had the entire cast return for it, including John Heder and Efren Ramirez. They could have theoretically done a live action version of this TV show, and I think it would have been better. John Heder playing Napoleon Dynamite versus John Heder voicing an animated Napoleon Dynamite are two very different things, and this show makes that apparent. The way John Heder moves and the way he acts as Napoleon Dynamite, just his body language, is all funny and it adds to the character. None of that is captured in the animation, even though it could be. But this is on Fox. If it was on another network with a different animation studio working on it, it's possible that this show could have worked as an animated show. However, since it's on Fox, it just doesn't make any sense. That animation is too simple to capture those little character traits that all of the characters in Napoleon Dynamite have. It just doesn't translate over well at all. Why in God's name would you make it animated when you were already talking about a live action movie? Why would you adapt it to adult animation? That doesn't make any sense. Unless, of course, you have some really interesting stories to tell. And boy, are these stories interesting. And by interesting, I of course mean really confusing and strange. Let's talk about a few of these summaries of the episodes. There's only 6, so I'll run through them really quickly. Episode 1, Thundercone. Napoleon Dynamite gets some off-brand acne cream that makes him super strong and filled with rage, and that leads to him stealing Kip's girlfriend and them fighting in a fight club. Episode 2, Scantronica Love. Napoleon Dynamite's class has a scan machine that can scientifically tell who's in love with who and who's bound to be together. Episode 3, Liger Town. Napoleon Dynamite goes to a liger farm, i.e. lion mixed with tiger, and steals a liger cub and brings it back to his house. Episode 4, Pedro versus Deb. Pedro and Deb get into a fight. Episode 5, Bed Races. There's these bed races where Napoleon Dynamite and his uncle cheat. Episode 6, FFA. Napoleon tries to win the Future Farmers of America competition, but lo and behold, there's a more attractive rival there that tries to bury him. Literally, these episodes are nearing the line of nonsense, but for adult animation, you can tell all these stories. The problem isn't with how bizarre the stories are. You can tell bizarre stories. The problem is that they don't do anything to make these stories interesting, fun to watch, or funny. in any way, shape, or form. It's like they saw that people liked Napoleon Dynamite and having those characters and voices was enough to have a successful TV show, which is not true. In order to make a successful TV show, the TV show has to be entertaining. It can't just be ridiculous and weird. Napoleon Dynamite the movie is entertaining. It's funny. It has a lot of great moments in it, like when Napoleon Dynamite dances, which, by the way, they try to do in this show, and it just doesn't translate. It's used at the wrong time. It's framed really strangely. Everything that worked about the original dance scene was taken out in order to fit with a new story, so that they could just shoehorn it in there. These stories are really bizarre, and they don't do anything with them to make them interesting, so they just become boring. And that really is the word to sum up Napoleon Dynamite the animated series. Boring. It's a boring, uninteresting mess of a TV show. It's just not entertaining in any facet. At least with a show like Alan Gregory, that one is cringeworthily bad. That one is a little bit easier to sit through than Napoleon Dynamite. However, I still believe Alan Gregory is worse than Napoleon Dynamite because Alan Gregory's style of comedy all comes from a place of hate and anger. It feels like an angry show that doesn't know how to be funny, so it just decides to be mean instead. Napoleon Dynamite as a TV show, while it didn't work and it wasn't entertaining, there was nothing hateful about it. Even the stuff on Fox's side, where I think Fox tried to shoehorn in stuff from the movies, or maybe even the creators did, because the ideas just weren't there to make this show entertaining. It shouldn't have existed in the first place, but none of it was hateful. None of it made me angry at the show. It just made me really disappointed, because this show should have never existed in the first place. So Alan Gregory, definitely worse than Napoleon Dynamite, but Napoleon Dynamite is still a 1 out of 10 in my book. No questions asked. There's no reason any human being should watch this show, especially when the movie exists, and that is so much better. So thank you all very much for watching this video. Let me know what you thought of it down in the comment section below. I read every single comment on this channel, so do not be shy. Yours will not be overlooked. And also, let me know if there's any TV shows, cartoons, anything you want me to check out and talk about on the channel. I will gladly take a look at something, especially in the adult animation realm. I'm currently working through Fox's animation domination block, trying to get all that figured out and why it's been so horribly unsuccessful in the past. We've already moved through Alan Gregory and Napoleon Dynamite. Next up, that one I want to say is a surprise, but it's going to take me so long that I should probably just let you know now. It's the Cleveland Show. I'm currently working through the Cleveland Show, and working is the right word for it. That show is not entertaining. It feels like I am clocked in at work every single time Cleveland Brown opens his mouth. So stay tuned for that review and a breakdown of why that show is a horrible mess. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.